I know how in tune you can be with the fan base, and the fan base is all over the place today. Some are super excited about how close the game was. Some are frustrated because they thought there were plays there to win the game. Where do you fall about last night's game and the concept of the moral victory?
Well, that was opening night. We were playing the world champs. What an opportunity for a victory against, again, David and Goliath. We played well. We've got to the ones that don't want to acknowledge, and I'm one of them, a moral victory. What I see is a defense that is going to get better. We have the athletes to get better. We have the scheme to get better. We were playing quality competition. I was really proud to see the good things that occurred during the ball game. We've got really help on the way. The young guys are going to get better. We've got some guys that weren't out there that can help us out. We can get better. That hopefully will mitigate what happened to us right at the end of the game in the last drive when you've certainly need to make a play to win that ball game. That's the NFL. You're going to be there that close so often. I have felt like that we paid the price of not really having our kicker during training camp, and I look back, and when you don't have a kicker that is real active during training camp, you may be kidding yourself for the early ball games. Is he ready to, really ready to go? The loss isn't to be blamed on the kicker, but still, if we'd had some execution on 3 or 4 of those kicks, it might have made a big difference here. Offensively, we're really, in my mind, everything we thought we could be. The 2 key standouts for me were the offensive line and the defensive front relative to the running game. Those 2. Our big boys played a hell of a game last night.
Have to know real quick, since you mentioned it, long term, then, do you still believe in Greg Zuerlein as the kicker of this team?
Yeah. Yes. And I said, he's, again, do you go into the season with a kicker that's been on kind of IR and been easing along, maybe when it's that vital to have really be in the swing of things? Do you go with a kicker that didn't do much during the preseason relative to competition, that spent a lot of time, which they can, out on the practice field and working really the art that way? Yes, we did, and I think we paid a price there in his first opening game. I believe in him long term, and I believe he'll play better as we get into the season.
Jerry, last night after the game, I caught it right at the end, Dak shaking hands with Tom Brady, and he says, "We'll see y'all again." And then he commented on it after the game. What do you think about that? Do you like that that competitiveness of Dak Prescott there? Oh,
man, I do. It's just really, if you want to smile about something that has a big-time, long-term relative to the season impact on it, is Dak. And it's one of the most phenomenal performances that I've seen, because he really hadn't played in almost, 18 months. And for him to step out there and have that kind of night is nothing but encouraging.
2 questions for you here, Jerry. Watching the game, I was happy the Cowboys took the lead. Then it scanned over to Tom Brady getting off the bench and getting ready to take the field, and I was kind of like, I kind of like, we got to somehow try to stop the greatest of all time. I was wondering what your thoughts were after taking the lead with 1:24 to go, and then during that drive, the key play to put them in field goal position was the catch by Godwin, which is debated pretty strongly. Was that offensive pass interference? I'd love to know your 2 thoughts on after scoring to take the lead and then Tom Brady taking the field, and then your thoughts on the no call to set up Tampa Bay for the game-winning field goal.
We left him too much time. You can't do that in our game. You can't leave a quarterback of his caliber just can't do it. You put yourself in a spot where you've got to have a big play. One of the biggest plays of the night you have to have during that drive. And that's hard to do against a quality quarterback. Everybody's pretty tired out there. Our defense really held up well, I thought. I really did. I thought they might have gotten a little tired, and that was going to be an advantage for us as we got down near the end of that game. But you give with a minute and a half left on the clock and your timeout, you give your quarterback, most of them in the NFL, and they'll take it down on you. And so you got to have a big play. We've got a young team that's so talented on defense that we can get a big play in those situations. And we had a couple of opportunities. The call, that's what happens to you. That's a big play. They got it, though. And that can happen, and it made you sick. Key play of that drive was the penalty that not that penalty, but was a penalty that really we had them stopped, and we got a penalty. I forget which play before that it was, but there was a penalty that let us. I'm sorry, back when we had the ball, that if we hadn't made the penalty, we could have run more time off the clock. And if we could have gotten more time off the clock when we had our possession, then you would have had a better chance when they did get the ball.
Not to say that it would be like this going forward. I don't think anyone is expecting him to throw 58 passes a game. But what did you think about the breakdown last night for the offense between passing and running? Should we anticipate more of a shift towards a passing-centric offense?
Well, first of all, give your offensive line kudos for playing an outstanding game in their production, because that was one heck of a defensive line they were keeping out of there. And, again, that highlight plus the way our big guys played on defense were, in my mind, the game ball guys along with Dak. We've got to, it's easy to say, but as you know, to establish the passing game against a big-time front, and they've got it. The Bucs have a big-time defensive front. You got a lot of you got to go against that wall and have a lot of 1-yard runs. When you've got a quarterback and you can make a play like we're able to make in the passing game, that's going to be a challenge, because you got to wear them down with that running game. And it just didn't go that way, but that's the anecdote. But the running game takes early patience.
Jerry, when last week you were discussing with us that last year you thought you had a team, and that going into this season you felt like you had the team that you thought you had last year. And I'm kind of curious of what you saw last night. Were there things that you saw that you were like, I expected this, and were there things that you saw were like, I did not expect that to be that good or to be that bad?
Yeah, not foolishly, but just hopefully. I expected our offensive line last year to play like it did last night, and it played like we did, and that was a big expectation. I didn't know that we were going to be as inept against the running game last year on our defense, but last night we were not. And so, but the difference in these teams, especially on the defensive side of the ball, is it's real uphill. It's upside, not uphill, but it's upside for this team. We've got guys that even weren't on the field last night that can make this defense better. And we can get better there. And we can sure, with our strength, with our linebackers and our outside pass rushers, we can absolutely expect to have more pressure.
Jerry, when you talk about the help that wasn't there last night, I assume you're talking about Joseph, your second-round pick, and possibly Wright just growing into the role, your third-round pick. Is that kind of specifically the two cornerbacks, hopefully, getting up to speed?
I'm talking in the interior, Gallimore, talking him. But the answer is yes, there. I'm talking about Hooker. I'm talking about the maturation of those young guys that are in there. Micah was close last night on a few things. He'll get there on some inevitably. And then I'm also talking about this young group when you play, when you're a young player, you actually get those snaps. You grow right before everybody's eyes. You grow. The problem is the price you pay as you're growing. Well, these young guys are going to do that for us, and then this scheme is going to become even more doable for these guys because they're going to have more time in it. We've got upside, serious upside on the defense. It's the best thing, or one of the very best things that if you had to have a positive you can come out with. We're going to get better defensively, and we didn't play bad against a good team last night.
Jerry Jones joined us here on the KNC Masterpiece on 105.3 The Fan, your home of the Dallas Cowboys. And Jerry, last night in that stadium, I know last year y'all spent time in empty stadiums. What was your feeling looking around, seeing the NFL make that impact with that many people there?
It was. I just was so thankful before the game ceremony with that huge crowd out there, and of course you don't have to hear me say what I think of the pageantry and of you can cut it, the excitement with a knife, and then it's the crowds. The NFL football game is. Only 7% of our fans have ever been inside a stadium. It's television. On the other hand, the pageantry of the Coliseum of Rome, if you will. If you've got that, that is a big part of the magic that the NFL, the throngs of fans, the excitement of my team against your team, my town against your town, then turn around there and have a game of that nature. It's really wonderful event.
Now, I really am interested in your insight on this. Tomorrow, 20th anniversary of the September 11th attacks. I was hoping for our audience you could walk us through what you were doing and what you remember about that day, and then what the decision-making process was like after that in order of when to play football again.
Boy, you caught me off guard. I was sitting right in the chair I'm sitting in when I first was aware of the of the 9/11 attack, and I remember immediately talking to my daughter Charlotte, and we were watching in horror, and it's just. Again, like us all, I remember what I was doing, and as you remember, it was early. And so bottom line is that the experience really changed all of our lives. It changed how we approach, how we go to, and how we do security-wise at events such as what we do on a weekly basis during the season. So it very much in my mind, I think you could look at how 9/11 changed our lives, our mentality, our feeling of security. I think you can look at COVID as that kind of game changer as well.
Well,
life changes.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have football back. I know you're glad to have football back, and it sounds like we're feeling positive about this Cowboys team despite a tough game. Thank you very much for your insight on that, and thank you very much, as always, for your time every Friday morning.
You bet. Let's have a good week.